Somewhere in Europe, roughly 30,000 years ago, a small group of humans crawled inside the ribcage of a mammoth they had just killed. Outside, the temperature was dropping below -40. Inside, the body heat of a dying animal was the only thing between them and death. This is how your ancestors spent winter. Not in a house, not near a radiator, not with a blanket or a stored pantry or a plan that extended past the next 3 days. Just a frozen mountain, a dead animal, and each other. And they survived, not once, for thousands of winters in a row. Here's exactly how they did it. First, you have to understand what winter actually meant 30,000 years ago. This was the last ice age. Large parts of Europe were buried under glaciers. The average temperature across the continent was roughly 10 degrees colder than today. Not 10 degrees colder than a warm summer day. 10 degrees colder than the coldest winter you have ever experienced. Entire landscapes were frozen solid for months. Rivers stopped moving. Animals disappeared. And your ancestors were standing in the middle of all of it, with no Gore-Tex, no synthetic insulation, no matches, just what they could make with their hands and what they could remember from the year before. The first thing they did was find the right cave. Not every cave worked. A cave too deep held no light and no heat. A cave too shallow offered no protection from wind. What they needed was a cave with a narrow entrance facing away from the prevailing winds, close enough to a water source that didn't fully freeze, and high enough on the hillside that predators couldn't easily reach them. Finding that cave was itself a survival skill passed down through generations. Some of these caves show evidence of continuous human occupation for over 20,000 years. The same families, the same walls, the same entrance, generation after generation returning to the same spot every winter like it was home, because it was. Inside the cave, fire was everything, not just for warmth, for survival on every level your body needed. Archaeologists have found fire pits inside Ice Age caves that burned continuously for weeks. The ash layers go down meters deep. These fires were never allowed to go out. Someone was always awake. Someone was always feeding them. Because if the fire died at -40, people died with it. But fire did something else beyond heat. It kept predators out. Cave bears, cave lions, wolves. All of them circled these mountains at night. A fire in the entrance of a cave was the only wall your ancestors had. The circle of light was the circle of life. Step outside it and you didn't come back. Food was the harder problem. In summer, your ancestors could follow herds, dig roots, pick berries. Winter took all of that away. What they learned to do instead was prepare. Months before the first snow, they hunted heavily. Mammoth, reindeer, bison, horse, they didn't just eat what they killed, they stored it. Meat was buried in frozen ground just outside the cave entrance. The permafrost kept it preserved for months. Fat was rendered and stored in animal bladders. Bones were cracked and boiled in water heated with fire-warmed stones to extract every calorie of marrow. Nothing was wasted. A single mammoth provided enough calories to keep a group of 20 people alive for weeks. And your body still remembers that math. The reason you instinctively reach for the richest, fattiest food available is because for 30,000 winters, the humans who did that survived and the ones who didn't. You're not weak. You're just running ancient code in a world it wasn't written for. But survival wasn't only physical. This is the part that changes how you see your own species. Inside these caves, on these frozen walls, your ancestors painted. Not crude scratches, not desperate marks. Detailed, deliberate, or beautiful art, horses in motion, bison mid-charge, handprints pressed into stone. Scientists studying cave art in France and Spain have found that many of these paintings were made deep inside cave systems, sections so far from the entrance that no natural light could reach them. To paint there, someone carried fire deep into the earth. They sat in total silence, surrounded by cold stone, and they made something beautiful. Not for survival, not for food, for meaning. Because that is what humans do when the world outside becomes unlivable. They go inward, they tell stories, they make art, they remind each other what they are and why it matters to keep going. Your ancestors didn't just survive winter in those caves, they built the first version of culture inside them. The next time a hard season hits your life, and it will, remember this. The instinct to go quiet, to gather only the people you truly trust and wait it out together. That instinct is 30,000 years old. It kept every single one of your ancestors alive. It is still keeping you alive now. You just forgot where it came from.